Hi there, welcome back to Auto Small Engine. Is your small engine surging all over the place? If so, in today's video I'm going to cover how to repair that. This fix is going to pertain to just about any small engine out there. Stick around.
Soundstripe.
The unit we're working on today is a Toro 721E. The issue is inside the carburetor. There's a blockage in the main jet. I'll show you that shortly. So the carburetor on this particular unit is located up under this cover here, right up in here. So we need to split this casing to access the carburetor. There's quite a bit of stuff to take apart on this particular unit to get to the carburetor. So I'm just going to go over some of the hardware we have to remove. So basically, we need to split the red housing from the black housing. Once the black housing is off, the carburetor sits right there. So in order to get that black housing off, we have to pull the choke handle off. This unit has electric start, so we're going to be pulling that off. There's two bolts in here, one on this side and one on the other side here, right down in here. But to get access to those bolts, you have to remove the red part. To remove the red part, we have to pull 4 number 3s off. There's one here, one located back there, and there's also one right in there. Once those are off, that'll allow us to pull the black housing off and get to work. Though this is not necessary for this repair, I am going to pull this handle off just so it's easier to film and I'm not bonking my head on it. The reason you want to pull the 2 back number 3 Phillips closest to the drive side is due to needing to lift this housing up. You don't want to put force on this part of the plastic. If these are tight and you're lifting this, you could stress the plastic here and cause some damage. Next, we're moving on to the black housing portion of it. We need to pull this choke handle off. It's a number 2 Phillips right up in here. If your unit has electric start, 2 quarters here, and on the back side, there's 2 5/16 nuts. You need to get up in here, going by feel right now, like so. Hold the back side. There it is. Same thing on the other side. Quarter on the top, 5/16 on the bottom. There it is. We need to pull our primer line off, like that, and our key wiring. Next up, we have our pull cord. Easiest way is to just pop it out of this handle to 7/16. You just let that rest in the housing. Next up, there's a 3/8 down here for the bottom piece. Now, to access the 2 3/8 that are on either handle here, you have to take your gas cap off, and you can lift the housing up past this. And I take a 1/4" ratchet with a 3/8, and that allows you to pop these off. There's one, and it's the same dealio on the other side here. Same exact setup. On these Toros, the gas tank is held in with this plastic piece. So put your cap on and make sure it's on, because it can't fit through the red housing with the cap on. If you don't put your cap on, your gas tank will come with it. It'll be a big mess if you have gas. This pull handle has to go underneath this rail. Then the gas tank here is clipped right in here. You need to take a flathead or something rather long to get up in there and just push to the side. and up. There you go. That gas tank is now disconnected, and we need to push. There's one more mount here. We need to lift it up. It sits on like a little post. And there we go. We should be able to pop this whole housing out now. Our gas tank is hung up a little bit. There it is. There we go. You can pull your engine over a few times and get this right out of the way. So removing that black cover, I wanted to say just like that, but that definitely does not apply here. There's quite a bit of labor involved with taking these things apart. We are finally at our carburetor here, and I will just mention, if you did not have your gas cap on, you can see what a mess that would have made. This whole gas tank would have come out and potentially flipped over and dumped all your fuel out. So make sure that cap is on before you pull that black cover. Now, we are able to get to our carburetor bolts. We are going to move on to removing the carburetor and finally getting to the issue that's causing this thing to surge. All right, next, put our gloves on. We will be dealing with gasoline. Don't get gas on your skin. You absorb it, and it's very bad for you. So, move our electric start out of the way. Pull our choke extension off. We are going to pinch off the fuel line so that we can remove the carburetor. We're going to leave the fuel in the tank. You can use crimp tools. I like to take vice grips and put 2 hoses on it. You can cut off the fuel just like this. Not too tight, but just enough to pinch off your line. Take a little cup. You can place it there. Pop that main clamp off. Just lineman pliers work best for that. And I'm going to pull this off. There we go. Next, I'm going to pull the primer line out of this housing. I find it easiest to leave it on the carburetor because we're removing this piece. This piece here is 2/10. This should pop right off. Like so. Next, we're going to remove our gasket here. Looks to be in great shape. Next, I'm going to drain whatever fuel is in the carburetor here. I find it easier when the carburetor is still mounted. Kind of just helps support it. This is a 10. Get your little bucket ready. There might be a little bit in there. Perfect. Also, that fuel does not look good. Also, once it's on here, I find it easier to crack the bottom bolt as well, which we are going to need cracked for our repair. Just crack it. Next, we're going to pull our throttle linkage off. One thing I will mention is when your engine is surging, it's actually not great for the engine. It's constantly putting strain on it, up and down, up and down. It uses a lot more fuel, and you actually don't have as much power. So it puts a lot of wear and tear on the governor arm here and all your linkages. It's just constantly, when your engine is surging, it's doing this while it's running. It's going up and down, up and down. It can actually wear out the bushings inside your carburetor for your butterfly valve as well, and causes a bunch of premature wear. So surging engine, you definitely want to repair as soon as possible. To pull this linkage off, you want to pull your carburetor off slightly like that until this arm lines up with the black plastic here. As soon as it's just about centered, you can pop it straight up like that. Take the spring with it, and off comes your carburetor. Next, we are going to take the carburetor apart to see if we can find where that blockage is. If you were using hand tools right now to pop this bowl off, it'd be a lot easier if you cracked it on the machine. There we go. Fairly gummy. I'm going to clean that out for sure. We'll take our float out. That doesn't look too bad. That's pretty gummed up in there. So we are going to have to clean both of those out. This carburetor was very gummed up, especially that main jet. However, in my experience, what causes the surging issue is typically this jet under here. You pull this Phillips out. This guy has to come out here. So we're going to get this out. We're going to clean right down in there. Even the smallest pin in my set will not fit through here. So you can take a wire brush that you have laying around. You just need one strand off it. They're very fine, and you should be able to. There it is there. I hope you can see that. Clean it out good, and then follow that up with carb cleaner. I'll show you what came out of there. Look at all that gunk. Just dried up ethanol and corrosion is all that is. And this here should be the culprit of our surging problem. Don't forget to follow up with carb clean. When you spray, ensure it comes out the middle hole, and that will tell you that the jet portion here is clean, and that was the main issue all along. So we're good to go here. Time to put this guy back in. The flat side has to go against that part in the carb, and then your idle adjust goes over. There we go. Just like that. Pop out your main jet. I just thought I'd take the opportunity to mention to anybody out there trying to do this themselves that your average screwdriver won't work. I find that the screwdriver that actually does fit down in here to get the jet out, the thin ones that do clear it are far too thick on the end to fit into the jet. They're just too wide. And the ones that do fit the jet don't fit in down where they go. So I would recommend, or what I've done, is I just shave this off with a grinder so that it does fit, or you can sharpen the end of a screwdriver. So I'm just going to sharpen this one quick, and I'll show you what that looks like. To modify this, we're going to be using a flapper disc. I use these to sharpen almost all my lawnmower blades before balancing them. You just need to shave off a little bit of that thicker tip there so it can fit that jet. So I'm just going to quickly do this. Safety glasses, check. There we go, and that will fit the jet. So now it fits the jet beautifully, and it will clear this area. No problems there now. So if you run into this issue, just shave the tip off or the wide spots to fit these. You can see a little bit of light through there, but that needs to be opened up. For these units, they run fairly lean from the factory to start. So some people will take a micro drill bit set and open that jet up a touch. You can do that, or just open it up to at least the factory size it was. You can use torch tip cleaners, or I have these little pins here. I'll link them in the description below. They are serrated a little bit, so they do help clean. So just find the right size and get all the crud out of there and work it back and forth until you see more daylight than this. So this one is good, but it's a little bit loose, so I'll step it up one size. It's already looking much better. Go up a size, try this one. Better. Drag it along the sides. See if I can show you. Now that our jet is clean, it's time to blow out the carburetor using carb cleaner. You don't necessarily have to blow out the entire carburetor for this issue, but this jet was clogged up, so I'd highly recommend blowing out the whole carburetor while you have it apart. I'm gonna blow this one out on a time lapse into my bin here. If you would like to see a more in-depth cleaning of a carburetor, I do have a video. I'll leave a link in the description for it, and you can also click on it right here.
Soundstripe.
So our carburetor is all clean now. Everything you see is staining. I'm happy with the way it turned out. The staining won't be an issue. It's just leftover varnish stain. So, time for reassembly. Take your emulsion tube, drop it in, double side, double lip, faces the jet. Drop that down. Take your jet, obviously where your screwdriver goes, faces up. Drop that in. Thread that in. And you don't want to go too tight on this. These are just brass. So just when it bottoms out, just barely snug it. Done. Next, we're going to drop our float and needle in. Put the spring on your needle. This is a good time to quickly check to see if the tip is pliable, see if it's soft, because essentially what this does is it just drops down against your brass inlet to shut your fuel off. So if this tip has any issues, it will let too much fuel into the carburetor and flood it out. You have to peel your spring back, try to hold it. So that you can clear it over the backside, like that. That's what that should look like. Make sure the spring isn't halfway on there. Make sure it's sitting all the way in. You can drop that in. And you have to stop it in line with the holes for your pin. Sometimes it can be a bit tricky to line up. There we go. You want to center your pin so that it's not one side and your bowl will hit it. You want to put it right in the middle. Then I like to take a clean rag and put it over the fuel inlet just to make sure everything's working properly. So you just put it over like that and blow a little air in there. You should not be able to blow any air in this way until you lift it. So you can just blow a little bit. Just like that. I know it seems kind of gross, but if you put a clean rag there, it won't hurt you. And that's just to make sure that it's going to shut the fuel off when the fuel fills up the bowl, and it mechanically shuts off your fuel. Lastly, we're going to put our bowl on. These bowl gaskets are flat on one side and rounded on the other. The flat side goes towards the carburetor. You want to slip it all the way around in that groove. You have to make sure it's sitting perfectly, because if it's just out a little, you will have to redo this and it will not seal. Once it's in there, whoops, a little bit of a dance. There we go. Once it's in there like so, take your bowl, pop that on, and your bowl nut. And I just put it on loosely, so you can still spin it. You want to see the orientation of how your carburetor sits in the engine. So I know it sits this way with all my throttle linkage here. So for maintenance, you want to be able to drain your carburetor. So put it in such a way that it will be easy to drain fuel for winter storage or summer storage, whatever your application is. Once I know my orientation, that looks like a good place to drain fuel. I'm just going to snug it up. It's a 3/8 on this one. Just snug. And I always double check the drain just in case. There we go. Ready for install. In case you're looking to do a service and you want to get your parts ahead of time on a Toro 721 like this one, the spark plug is much easier to access now with everything apart. This one's a Bosch F7 RTC. The socket size is a 13/16. Another thing I thought I would mention is these units do have a 1/4-inch inline fuel filter, so you can drain your tank and swap that filter out for maintenance as well. Time to go back. So check your gasket, make sure it's good. This one is in good shape. Also check the orientation of your spark plug wire. It goes under the crankcase vent. That's how that should look, from the factory at least. So throttle linkage goes first. Slide it on, and while you're part way out, we need to put our spring and our throttle arm. So as soon as that lines up, that drops in, and this spring, hard to see, trying to do this behind the camera. There we go, like that. And as it slides on, that's how that should look. So I'm going to put the fuel line back now. It's easier right now to do it than once the intake box is on. I'm going to do this now. Try to put the clamp back where it was. You can see the indentation. Next, primer line goes on if you had yours off. On like so. And that can just stay there. We have our gasket here. These don't typically go bad. This one's in good shape. This loop goes up here. And our choke handle goes on like so. This is essentially a Honda GX 160 carb. The choke has to be in the closed position. Most snowblowers or throwers do not have an air filter, including this one. Pop this on. This choke has to go through this opening here, so it does need to be in the closed position, like so. Two nuts here. Just snug. It's good. Don't forget your choke extension handle that goes through the housing. So it's time to put the cover back on, the bottom cover. We're just going to get it loosely lined up on either side and get it close. This choke handle needs to go through this lower opening. And I'm just going to leave it right around there. It might pop back through, that's fine. I'm going to start with the starter button, feed that through. The bolts for this were 1/4-inch top on the head side, and the nut is a 5/16. We'll get that lined up. While I'm doing this, I'm trying to center this button the best I can because it can go off to the side while holding the nut on the back. Get as close as you can. These are nylocks, so with vibration, they will stay tight. They won't back off. And it's plastic, so you don't have to go too tight. That's good. Next, with the cover still partially off, we're going to take our primer line, and it's just a push on. You just push it onto the nipple on the bottom and make sure it's all the way up like that. For the key, there's two little pins here that will pop into these little holes. So as soon as you put it in there, you'll hear a little click, just like that. So this cable needs to be up in this groove for your belt for your drive. So with the weight of the spring, you can just leave that up top. It should stay put. And then you can just line this one up. And over on the other side, make sure your choke is still through. And your gas tank is the next step. The gas tank needs to be put on its support, like that. And this black lower housing is going to go into the red cutout, like that. And on the bottom here, on the aluminum bottom, it goes up into this plastic piece, like that. And the gas tank is going to slide down the same way we pull it off until it clicks right there. That's how that should look right there. This bolt, I have anti-seize on it. I've seen these seize up pretty good. It'll help whoever in the future is going to hold this housing on the bottom. Next, we got to put these two clips on either side on the rail to hold the bottom up. Gas cap has to come off for this to give you a little bit more room for your hand. So this plastic will come up the red side. It's still tight, but it's doable. If you run that cable up through this loop, and down to the housing, that groove there goes in there like so, and the nut, or the bolt on the back will thread down in there. Same thing on the right side, goes in the groove and down. So for the red top to sit perfectly in the bottom housing, this groove is going to line up like so. And this side, similarly, but it's got a cutout like that. Then we have, double check that side. Good. Then we have two number 3 Phillips. I have a bit of anti-seize on these as well, just so they don't break the little holder on the back the next time around. There we go. Don't forget your pull rope holder in case you took yours out. This is 7/16. And it will sneak in here. This choke handle, that little raised piece, goes in that. So if you line this up, and on the bottom, you have to line this perfectly, like that. This is a number 2 Phillips. We'll start it and let the impact do the work. If you did take off your upper handle, it's easier to put the spring on with it. completely removed. Like that. There we go. This washer is bent, so it fits the frame. So we're ready to start this since we've done all this work. The carburetor is empty. Might take a little bit of priming and pulling it over, but it should fire up, and we're going to see if it surges, see if we fix the issue. I'm going to turn this mic off because you headphone users out there will thank me.
Okay.
Well, that just about does it for this one. I hope you enjoyed this video. Maybe it helps somebody out there having an engine that's surging. This principle will apply to just about any small engine out there. This video showed kind of more pertain to the 721, but the principle itself will apply pretty much across the board. If you enjoyed watching this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Helps future small engine content. Thanks for watching.
Soundstripe.